Good morning. I would like to call the Bruce County Council meeting to order and welcome all those that are visiting us live streaming this morning. First order of business this morning is the roll call.
Councillor Buckle. Present. Councillor Eady.
Present.
Councillor Eagleson. Present. Councillor Ingalls. Present. Councillor Jackson. Present. Councillor McKeever. Councillor Smith. And Warden Tulin.
Present. At this time, I'd ask anybody from council to declare pecuniary interest, either now or if it arises down the agenda. Seeing none, adoption of the council minutes for March the 2nd.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Jackson and seconded by Councillor Smith that the minutes of the March 2nd, 2017 council session be adopted as circulated.
Are there any errors, omissions, or discussions from those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Communications have been circulated. Anything further? Okay. Next up, delegations. First up, we have James Sconiak from Bruce Power. The podium is yours, sir.
Great, thanks very much. I don't have my Bruce County tartan tie on today. I understand it's tartan day, and there's not a Sconiak tartan. But I proudly wear the Bruce County tartan tie that the warden gave me as a gift a few years ago, so I'll have to wear it next time. Look, thanks very much for having me this morning. I know the slides have been circulated in advance. A few things I want to update people on from a Bruce Power perspective. This is meant to be a bit of a 2016, but I know we've had a lot of conversations since the turn of the new year. But a few, I think, important items to really update people on. We're about a year into our new agreement with the province. So as you may be aware, January 1st, 2016 was the first day our new agreement till 2064 came into effect with the province. The very good news under that agreement in our first year, we spent about $450 million of capital last year, executed that on time and on budget, and also delivered electricity to Ontario families and businesses at a cost of 6.6 cents. And I'll talk a little bit more about the price of power later. A very important highlight, and I know none of this will be new to people around the table, is our Regional Economic Development Initiative. I know you'll be getting an update on that later today. This is a very important initiative. Bruce County has showed a tremendous amount of leadership at the staff and elected level on this front, and we're looking forward in September of this year to having a one-year touch base from when we launched that initiative. And I think what you're going to find is in all of the areas that we identified as being areas that we wanted to advance, we've seen tremendous progress. And I don't want to get ahead of any of the news, but we're already seeing many suppliers who support Bruce Power wanting to relocate and set up operations here, which is not only very important for us, but very important for the community. And of course, one of the things that also ties in with economic development is our commitment to further hiring of Aboriginal and Indigenous communities. Our facility, as you know, is located on the traditional territories of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, so that will continue to be an important priority for us. Another key area that is a real current update, I'm going to get in trouble because the news release isn't disclosed till tomorrow, but what the heck, you can get your story today. One of the things last year we announced was that in our Bruce B facility, for many years we've been producing something called cobalt-60. And essentially what cobalt-60 is it's an isotope, a radioactive isotope. And if you've ever gone into a hospital, if you've ever required any kind of sterilization, you count on, in hospitals, everything being fully sterilized. And Bruce Power is the largest exporter around the world of cobalt-60. So if you've been in a hospital in India, the UK, Ontario, California, chances are that those medical devices have been sterilized using our cobalt-60. We're a real leader in it. But one of the things we did last year was we recognized that there was a gap in the isotope market related to what they call high specific activity cobalt. And many of you may be aware, you may have had family members impacted by brain tumors. And essentially nowadays, when somebody has a brain tumor, the way it's treated is using something called a gamma knife. You go into a gamma knife either in London or Toronto and Ottawa in the case of Ontario, and they really lock your head into one of these gamma knives, and they use 200 different radiation beams that all intersect at the same point to get rid of a brain tumor. And that's been a transformational operation and procedure, because if you think about it, years ago, neurosurgeons would have to make incisions to remove tumors. So the good news is that that technology is really advanced. The bad news is that as of March 31st, 2018, we were going to be out of supply of the isotope needed in that Gamma Knife when Chalk River reaches its end of operation in Eastern Ontario. So Bruce Power, working with Nordion, looked at a very innovative project. We turned it around in 14 months to basically take the way we produce cobalt, make a modification to it to create this HSA cobalt. And tomorrow we're going to be making a release that indicates in our Unit 5 reactor, we've inserted these new HSA cobalt adjusters, and we'll start to harvest them in 2019. So there won't be a global interruption. And these are some of the kind of the stories that people just don't realize that happen right in our own backyard here in Bruce County. The final thing I'll cover in terms of a key highlight, I mean, you have the other points there, is I want to talk a little bit about the price of electricity in Ontario. I'm going to show you a video in a second, but if I was giving this presentation a year ago, 4% of people in Ontario rated the cost of electricity or hydro as their number one concern. Today, 44% of people rate that as their top concern. So over the course of the last 12 months, it's amazing how this has become a very big issue. What's interesting is actually over that 12-month period, the cost of electricity actually it has increased a lot over the course of the last 10 years. But over the last year, it hasn't increased a lot. So it just goes to show you how these issues can be acute. And I think all who are from rural Ontario know this has been a real concern. One of the things that's been important for us from a Bruce Power point of view is that when we talk to people, and we see this in our focus groups we do, when we talk to people about spending billions of dollars on an asset, people associate that with a high price of electricity. So we've been very proactive in this debate about electricity prices to say, if you're concerned about electricity prices, that's good news for us, because if you got 100% of your electricity from us, your electricity portion of your bill will be last year 40% less. So we are not the ones driving the cost of electricity. If anything, we're keeping the cost of electricity down. But the electricity system and the energy system, and I know the mayors who are trying to bring natural gas to the area just know how complicated the energy system is. And the electricity side is no different. So we produced this short video that I'd like to share with you. We put this online. It got 40,000 views in 3 days. And it is in 2 minutes. It explains your electricity bill, where you get your power from, how much it costs, and what our contribution is. So I don't want to bore you with a video, but I think you'll be interested in this short synopsis. So maybe we'll play that quickly for you. I think I'm supposed to hit this. Oh.
Hi, I'm Emily Johnston. I'm an environmentalist who is proud to work at Bruce Power. I'm also a working mom who lives in a small Ontario town where I grew up. The cost of electricity for Ontario families and businesses is an important issue across the province, as families work to balance their many household expenses and businesses are working harder than ever to remain competitive and strong. Because I work in the industry, I'm often asked by friends and neighbors to help make sense of their power bills. There are really 3 parts to your bill. The electricity charges is the actual power that you use. This accounts for about half of a typical bill. We generate electricity in Ontario from a number of sources. Nuclear providing 60% of our power. Hydro is about 1/3, and the rest comes from natural gas, wind, solar, and biomass. However, when we average this out over the year and when electricity is used, the cost of electricity for a household averages out to about 11 cents per kilowatt hour. In fact, if you received 100% of the electricity portion of your bill from nuclear, the cost of your electricity bill would dramatically drop. The delivery charge portion of your bill includes the cost of infrastructure like you see here to move the electricity from the generating stations to your home. If you live in a more remote and less populated area, you probably pay a bit more than someone living in a more populated urban area. The regulatory charges are used to pay for the cost of services to operate our provincial electricity system and ensure the grid is able to meet supply and demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It also includes long-term planning and key operational items to protect the system, like cybersecurity. Bruce Power sells all of its electricity under a controlled contract with Ontario's independent electricity system operator. The 6.6 cents per kilowatt hour we were paid in 2016 covers all investment the company has made in the site, operating costs, and the funding of all long-term liabilities as required in the company's lease with the province. We receive no other revenue from our electricity generation and no subsidy from the government. Our price includes everything. Now on to what we are proud to do at Bruce Power. We generate 30% of Ontario's electricity at 30% below the average residential cost. Bruce Power and the electricity we provide Ontario families and businesses is part of the solution over both the short and long term to provide a source of low-cost, stable electricity. We don't take our role for granted and work hard every day to find ways of delivering our role safer, more efficiently, and at a better cost.
So my first challenge to our team was to do this, explain the electricity bill in 30 seconds. And they came back frustrated. They said, look, we can't do it in 30 seconds. So that's as good as it gets. It's 2 minutes. But it's a complicated issue and we're trying to simplify it. But the one thing I can tell you is we've been very active with advertising across the province. And what we saw early March, right after the government released their Fair Hydro Plan, is we did polling across Ontario, and nuclear power was supported by nuclear refurbishment, should I say, was supported by 83% of decided Ontarians. It's the highest level of support for nuclear refurbishment that we've had since we started public opinion polling on refurbishment 13 years ago. So the good news is that there's a tremendous acceptance of nuclear power in Ontario. You do still continue to have a small group of special interest groups, the Greenpeaces of the world, the Clean Air Alliances of the world, who represent a very small segment of people and continue to spread a tremendous amount of misinformation. And so what we're doing is taking every single opportunity to correct the record, set the facts straight, and as Ann Eadie said to Lloyd Robertson, a W5, it was on the DGR, but sometimes people can misrepresent facts. So the thing we like to say is everybody's entitled to their own opinions, but not their own facts. And so that's what we're pushing on price. Just really briefly, as we sort of do a 2017 look ahead, and I do want to sort of end with this slide because I know you have some better speakers coming up than me, so you probably want me to get out of the way so you can get started. But a big focus for us this year is economic development, and I know you're going to have some more updates on that. But we're hoping for a series of supplier announcements this quarter. These are some of our big suppliers, and we're working with them throughout the quarter to these are contracts we've signed with these suppliers across Ontario. The next stage in that is what do we do to get them to set up locally here. I also want to thank the county for partnering with us at the CNA conference in Ottawa. I think it was a great event to recognize the companies of Aecon, Areva, CTS, ES Fox, Hatch, Matrix, and NA Engineering for their existing presence in the community. And just last week, we announced 2 new leases based in the Kincardine area for Amec Foster Wheeler, relocating to Kincardine, some staff, and also Sargent and Lundy. So these are small offices that will be set up in the area. And the one thing I should say, and it's something we're very conscious of, is we're taking a regional approach to this. And sometimes when you take a regional approach, obviously a lot of these firms want to be geographically relatively close to the site. So most of the offices and whatnot that are set up, there tends to be an initial interest of those being more in sort of the Huron, Kinloss, Kincardine, Saugeen Shores area. We are working on some larger initiatives where there's underutilized assets in some of the municipalities to draw people out. But the real push for the suppliers is they want to be closer. If they're locating from Cambridge, they want to be close to the site. But we shouldn't confuse that for the work we're doing as a committee, which is where do people live? I know the mayor and I were talking earlier about, there's a real opportunity for, as these people relocate to the area, living in the region as a whole. So this regional approach, I think, is very helpful. I think we need to recognize if we move one job from the GTA to our area, it's better than no jobs coming from the GTA to our area. That's going to be something the unity is going to continue to be important on. So, Warden, that's all I have for today. I'd be delighted to take any questions if people have them.
Thank you, James. Any comments or questions from council? Ann.
I remember you said a while ago, it was like it would be slow, it would come slowly, but I think it's coming thanks to Bruce Power's initiative and push with it. I think it's happening much faster. The companies coming to the area, looking at the area, than we had expected, and so I thank you for all your initiatives and support of the municipality of Kincardine and Bruce County, and for the Economic Development Initiative. The CNA in Ottawa, I've gone to the CNA for years, and the interest in our region was phenomenal, I thought.
Thanks, Ann, and I'll pass your thanks on to Mike Renchek, because he's really driven this. It really helps when the CEO of Bruce Power says to one of the suppliers, I'm happy to meet with you, but let's meet in your local office. So if you don't have a local office, you get a local office pretty quick. So Mike's been, we're not, all joking aside, I mean, the suppliers also want to be closer to us, but Mike and also the warden have been tremendous leaders on this front, but thank you.
Anything else? Good, thank you, James.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, next up we have some, this is one of my favorite parts of being the warden every year, hosting the little people from around the county of Bruce. And I had the opportunity to go to Port Elgin to help judge a very difficult task of trying to come up with some winners. And I know with my fellow judges, I said I wish we could give something to, or that we could name everybody a winner, and they are, for having the courage to stand up there and make these presentations. So we have 3 special guests today, and we are going to start out with Emily Miller. And Emily's from Port Elgin, and her speech was on Explore the Bruce. And she has come very well today with actually wearing a t-shirt, Explore the Bruce. So, Emily, you're up first.
I'd like to tell you some of my favorite things to do. Hiking on a cliff, 30 meters in the sky, through a forest of beautiful white birch trees, overlooking a bay of water with islands in the distance below. Feeling my feet sink into the soft white sand as I walk along one of the longest freshwater beaches in the world, running down a 100 feet high sand dune that was formed along an ancient coastline, traveling on a high-speed jet boat to a national park, and hiking to a 100-year-old lighthouse and learning about what it's like to live there. Does this sound like a trip to a faraway destination? Does this sound like a place many people love to go? It's really not that far away. This is where we live, and these are all the things you can do in Bruce County. I'd like to tell you about Explore the Bruce. You're going to need a passport. If you want to come along with me, Explore the Bruce is a great way to explore the place where you live. You'll find places you never even knew existed, and you'll have fun doing it. First, you'll need to get an Explore the Bruce Adventure Passport. You can explore Bruce County and print special shapes into your official Explore the Bruce passport. There have been over 140 different spots to collect the punches for over the 12 years the program has been running. To start your adventure, go to either Thorncrest Outfitters or the Bruce County Museum. If you happen to find one of the boxes before that, there should be a passport in the box. Read the instructions on the passport, get a map, and plan your trip to your first destination. When you find the box, open it and use the punch inside to mark your passport. If the box has number 1 on it, find number 1 on your passport. There will usually be a different shape for each stop. Explore the Bruce runs between May 1st and October 31st. If you're among one of the first explorers to complete at least 7 out of 12 punches, you can get an Explore the Bruce t-shirt. If you complete your passport later in the season, you can still draw for some really cool prizes, like a stand-up paddleboard or a new kayak. My family hasn't never ever won any of the prizes, but that didn't really matter to us because on the way to our punch, we saw so many beautiful things. At a place along the Niagara Escarpment called Devil's Monument, my family saw some glacial potholes. My family went there 2 years ago. After my family did the Tobermory punch, my family took the Flower Pot Express to Flower Pot Island. On the way there, the boat takes you to see 2 shipwrecks. One year, the water was so low, I could see some of the ships sticking out of the water. At Flower Pot Island, you can see some of the world-famous flower pot rock formations. One of the punches is called the paddle punch because you have to canoe or kayak to get there. This was one of my favorite ones because I love
Very good, Emily. Okay, next up we have from the junior division, Shelby Morris, Port Elgin. Oh, sorry, Mr. Colley.
Yeah, I thought I would come. I'm Bill Colley, principal at Northport School, and I've organized our part of the Bruce County Public Speaking Contest for about 16 years now, and it's my honor to do so. It's been going on for over 60 years, and so there's a long history with this council to support. Way before Blue Water was Bruce and Gray, we were still just Bruce County. But one of the speeches I heard all year was from this grade 6 student from St. Joe's in Port Elgin. And I thought, well, she's got to come today and inspire you all with her speech, because that was awesome. And I knew that everyone around this table would just love to hear that. So well done, Emily. The next two ladies you're going to hear are the champions from all of Bruce County. So what we do is all the schools of Bruce County are invited each year. We have 5 districts. So the schools have their competitions, then they go to a district competition, and then the winners come to a county championship. This year it was at St. Joe's in Port Elgin, and Ward Tulin came, and he was one of our honorable judges, which is great. So he's heard these two ladies, but I'm sure you're all going to be greatly entertained this morning. The junior speaker is Shelby Morris from Port Elgin Saugeen in Port Elgin. And speaking right after her will be Kate Lumpington from Brickley. So let's welcome these two ladies.
It's 1960, New Orleans, Louisiana. I recently passed a test to attend a new school, but there's a violent, angry mob protesting to stop me from going. They're throwing things at me, screaming, and waving signs with words I don't even understand. I'm terrified, but I try to be brave. I keep my head straight, and I don't look at anyone. How would you feel if you were not allowed to attend school simply because of the color of your skin? Chairperson and council members, this was the life of 6-year-old Ruby Bridges, the first African-American child to attend an all-white school. So what if we don't all look alike on the outside? We're still the same on the inside, right? Unfortunately, many people then, and even today, don't see it that way. And the separation between black and white is very real. In some places, blacks were not allowed to live in the same community, eat at the same place, or attend the same schools. This is called segregation. Ruby's dilemma began when a federal court ordered the school system in the South to integrate. So on November 14, 1960, an entire nation watched Ruby walk into William Frantz Elementary School and write into history. Ruby became famous for what valuable lesson will be taught all alone in that empty classroom. And it's that none of us are born disliking each other. It's something passed on to us. She established the Ruby Bridges Foundation to help needy children attend school because she knows education is a privilege. If she had given up, my life would probably be very different today. Ruby has inspired me to continue to be proud of the color of my skin, to embrace my right to be educated, and to always stand up for what I believe in. Put yourself in Ruby's shoes as she walked bravely up the steps while the crowd screamed and threw things at her. Now put yourself in the shoes of any child who is deprived the opportunity to attend school for any reason. Malala Yousafzai once said, "Education is the best weapon against poverty, ignorance, and terrorism." Let's learn from the past and not judge each other based on things beyond our control, because each of us has value, and every child, no matter the color of their skin, deserves the right to be educated. Thank you.
Very well done. So next up, we have Kate Leppington.
One in 5 young people live with mental disorders. 3.2 million kids, ages 12 to 19, are at risk for developing depression. 50% of mental disorders develop by age 14. These stats are unbelievable. Many will have to live with mental illness, low self-esteem, eating disorders, or even worse, thoughts of suicide, instead of living the life of a teenager. County council members, parents, and friends. Mental health disorders in children could grow up to 50% by 2020, according to the World Health Organization. Mental health affects the way people think, feel, and act. Taking care of our mental health is just as important as having a healthy body. Athlete Dwayne Johnson, also known as The Rock, a 10-time WWE champion, fought a very different battle than wrestling. The Rock fell into a depression after being cut from the Calgary Stampeders and passed over by the NFL. Because of his big muscles and his big personality, The Rock doesn't seem like the type of person who suffers from depression. That's because mental health affects everyone, and not everyone experiences difficulties in the same way. Mental health affects athletes locally too. In 2011, Wes Cameron died by suicide at the age of 16. He was a hockey player who was a caring young man who had a great big smile that lit up a room. Wes's family learned that many children and teens are struggling or suffering with problems. Many feel alone and helpless, unable to ask teachers, coaches, friends, or even parents for help. Why, you ask? Young people are afraid to talk because they don't want to be laughed at, judged, or appear weak. So that's why they started West for Youth Online, an online safe place where teens and grievers can express themselves and get free support from counselors. Garrett McFadden is a 19-year-old hockey player from Kincardine and is the captain of the OHL Team 12 Storm. Garrett is doing his part to raise awareness by creating a foundation called McFadden's Movement. His goal is to talk to young athletes about the pressures of the sport. McFadden shares his story and his message about staying positive and knowing there is help for those who need it. Talking, listening, counseling, and medications can help someone with a mental illness live a happy life. A fairly new treatment for people who suffer from anxiety and depression is the use of a service dog. Think of this. If you saw a huge black and brown Rottweiler wearing a vest, what would you think? Would you be scared? Well, my cousin has a Rottweiler named Maddie. My cousin Lindsay has suffered from depression and anxiety, and she is thankful every day for her huge service dog, Maddie. Maddie loves the beach, playing fetch, and hanging out at my cousin's office where she works. You may think this is nuts, but Madden is one of the smartest dogs I know. He even
Very, very impressive. We do have a few little mementos for taking part in today's session, so if you young ladies would like to come forward, I have a little gift for each and every one of you. Plus you get to get your picture taken. Here, Shelby, this is for you. I'll just close that for now. I'm going to give you one of these. There's that. Here's your book.
Thank you.
A shirt. Whoops, I dropped a pin here. Pin, a cup, and a pen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we're going to get our pictures taken.
We'll get a picture with all you guys.
Yeah, we'll get everybody. Here you go, Kate.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Get your pen.
Thanks.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's a book there too. There you go. Pretty amazing. They're not afraid about talking about only kids. Just let them run the world. Seriously. Okay, next up we have the Hear and Resolve recognition. We have Dean Burley and Stephanie Murray. Stephanie?
Good morning. I think James had it easier by going first ahead of those guys, but I am going to go back. It kind of makes me think about a sandwich here, Bruce Power at the top and the bottom and the best part in the middle, and I'm okay with that. But good morning again. The reason I'm here today, and it's just myself, unfortunately Dean Burley wasn't able to come, is just to recognize Bruce County and their participation in our exercise Hear and Resolve that took place last October. Basically, I'm just going to give a little update about what happened, show a video. If there's any questions, certainly that could be done afterwards. And then I do have a plaque here to present along with the letter. First and foremost, the reason we really do this is we have a social license from the community. Certainly the community here in Bruce County, but also the community as a whole at large, whether that be Ontario, Canada, and really internationally to be able to operate a licensed nuclear facility. So it all boils down to our social responsibility. At the end of the day, yes, we have regulatory requirements, commitments to be able to test, but it's beyond that. That's the minimum. We're really driving ourselves to excellence. And again, we do it because we live in this community. We have family and friends that live in the community, and it's the right thing to do. So again, the purpose of the event is to train and test, and we're looking at the Provincial Nuclear Response Plan. I'm not going to read through all those things, but essentially the scope and the level of play, it was a 5-day event. It was the largest exercise ever in terms of a nuclear facility in Canada. So that was something that was actually about a day longer than Huron Challenge about 4 years ago. We had a crisis management team, our emergency management center, which is located at our visitor center, and we had also other elements of our Bruce Power emergency response organization that participated. And of course, there were specific and general objectives, and it included our stations, plane, and of course there's little acronyms dabbled in there. I'm not going to spell out all of them, but essentially there was a lot of participation, and this is largely, I'm talking internally right now within Bruce Power. Ultimately, the intent, kind of again going back to the why we do this, was to ensure that all levels of government, again going from the municipal level, Kincardine was involved, up to the county level and the provincial level, and then playing, of course, with our nuclear facility, Bruce Power. We want to make sure that we're prepared to respond to the consequences of a nuclear emergency. So that was the hazard that we were testing at this emergency, and to make sure that it gives us the opportunity to gather together and to practice and train and learn. The one thing we don't want to do is be meeting someone during an actual event and, exchanging business cards, so to speak. The reason we do these ahead of time is so that we pretty much very well know everyone that is involved, and that's a really key part of the preparedness and the readiness to be able to respond to any hazard. So we had a single overarching scenario. There was about 93 hours of continuous play. Some of that was simulated overnight, but to make it add to the realism of the event. It was multi-station and multi-unit, so involved both Bruce A and Bruce B in terms of that scenario. Again, it was a nuclear radiological event. That was the hazard we tested. And we were looking at responding to and mitigating those actions as caused by that. And again, it went through the different planning zones, and that's where Kincardine, as well as Saugeen Shores and Bruce County, participated in what those impacts would be in relation to the planning zones in the primary zone, for example. We also transitioned to a severe accident management, so we're kind of going to beyond design basis, and that's sort of the continuous improvement lessons learned from Fukushima that we're still very much have well practiced and adapted and updated things at the site, but it's still continuous improvement. Again, there's approximately 29 stakeholders, including Bruce County, so lots of people were involved. Planning began about a year and a half prior to the event. And again, we wouldn't be able to do it without everyone being involved, but certainly it also helps those respective agencies be able to test and practice their objectives too. Certainly their roles within the nuclear emergency response plan. But the nice thing is when you are practicing certain elements of that, so standing up your emergency operations center, for example, it doesn't necessarily matter what the hazard is. You're still getting the value of that. So when the more likely incident occurs, such as perhaps a tornado or a severe winter storm, you have those things to fall back on. And again, you've met some of the people that you're practicing with. And again, everything that we do ultimately is about protection of the public and the environment, and certainly of our own personnel, whether they're in the station or on center of site. We're looking at command and control. It's a very key part in terms of responding, as well as information management. The first thing that essentially starts to fall apart is communication and controlling the emergence in the information. And so again, that's a really important part to be able to practice that, as well as having the coordinated communications with the various stakeholders. So again, I'm not going into too much of the detail here, but we did do a lot of realism. We had an exercise control that sort of fed into some of the things that where people actually were not actually playing. But most of the time, and you'll see it in the video and it'll largely speak to, for itself, is how much real play we did actually have. And that's a really important part of it. We can't always do that because there's certainly a cost associated with it, but that's why we do these larger full-scale integrated drills every 3 years, is to really drive that, that opportunity up, and more importantly, the value of it in terms of readiness and training value. And all organizational objectives, they're linked back to the 4 bullets up and above. Really, again, I want to just highlight the one and the third one. It's about enhancing that collective capability to respond again to those consequences. And it's not just Bruce Power. It's a coordinated effort. The province is the one that is ultimately responsible, and we certainly at Bruce Power have a very specific role. But it also boils down to, in terms of the various ministries, as well as the host and designate municipalities being Town of Saugeen Shores and Kincardine. And the video basically will give you an overview of what exactly happened. There is narration throughout. And then again, afterwards, if there are any specific questions, and then again, just a presentation of the plaque.
Bruce Power follows the Incident Management System, a structure involving command, operations, planning, logistics, and technical sections to support an integrated approach with external agencies, providing greater effectiveness for an all-hazard site response. On day one, the On-Call Emergency Response Organization was activated through our emergency notification system, and the Emergency Management Center was declared operational at 16:18 hours to respond to a site event.
The reason you have been notified and the reason we are activating is because of seismic activity on site at both Bruce A and Bruce B.
The Emergency Management Center is a state-of-the-art facility that uses innovative tools, along with trained and highly experienced staff, to effectively mitigate and respond to any emergency. The EMC assumes the command and control for all center-of-site activities, while providing support to the stations and taking responsibility for communications, coordination, and planning with external stakeholders such as the Province of Ontario. On day two, the Emergency Management Center response was in full swing. The local media center was activated to provide regular media briefings as new information became available. Additional challenges to the command and control of the response by the Emergency Management Center were provided with a separate off-site transportation event involving simulated radiological materials, triggering deployment of the Transportation Emergency Response Team. At the same time, Bruce A declared a station emergency, activating their Emergency Operations Center.
Attention all personnel, this is an emergency drill.
Located in the station, the EOC interfaces with the Emergency Management Center to ensure that they obtain the required resources and support to effectively mitigate and manage the response. Automated electronic accounting was initiated to ensure the safety of station personnel. The shift manager worked through a procedure matrix to determine the categorization of the event. As mandated, the emergency shift assistant sent a notification form within 15 minutes to the Provincial Emergency Operations Center and the London OPP, which subsequently notified the municipality of Kincardine. The emergency shift assistant then contacted the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission to advise of the situation. On day three, the technical support group arrived to provide additional support and expertise to the Emergency Management Center as the scenario transitioned into a severe accident. A proactive decision by the shift manager at Bruce A was made to deploy the emergency mitigating equipment. Stored at a nearby off-site location, this equipment provides redundancy in ensuring the availability of power and additional cooling if required. Deployment of our emergency mitigating equipment is tested frequently at every corporate exercise. Industry-leading in terms of the Fukushima action items, it includes required modifications to the stations to enable a quick and efficient response. In addition, the off-site survey team was deployed to verify there was no off-site radiological release. Overall, command and control continued to be effective, and communications with the province regarding the status of the response were ongoing. The province considered upgrading their provincial response action level to partially activate off-site center response. This involved notifying the various ministries as well as the designate municipality of Kincardine and the host municipality, the town of Saugeen Shores, that they should be prepared to set up their facilities. The emergency management response is a 24-hour effort, and the crew continued to monitor throughout the evening. On day 4, the decision had been made overnight to relocate the Emergency Management Center to one of its alternative locations, and the province had upgraded their provincial response level to full activation. The alternate emergency management centers have the same capabilities as the primary location, with more austere conditions. In addition, they are located in geographically diverse locations, combined with procedures to ensure that the process of activating the alternate location is a seamless activity that does not disrupt the emergency response priorities. Emergency coordination is critical in ensuring an effective and integrated response. The fully activated Provincial Emergency Operations Center coordinated the off-site response, including the scientific section. Kincardine's Emergency Operations Center was fully staffed to coordinate the local response, which included working with the Joint Traffic Control Center. The reception evacuee center was fully activated, receiving evacuees from the primary zone and providing emergency social services such as food and first aid. The Bruce Power staff provided the monitoring and decontamination unit. The Emergency Worker Center was functional, processing emergency workers assigned to work in the primary zone. The Emergency Information Center was responsible for the vital communication of public information, providing a media briefing followed by questions and answers. A request from the province to set up our deployable remote gamma spectrometers to augment the permanently deployed units in strategic areas in advance of atmospheric venting occurred. These monitors have the ability to detect energy from 15 radionuclides, which is used to determine if the levels are from a station release, shipment, or background, such as radon after heavy rain. We currently have 16 permanent remote monitors on site, as well as a further 28 off-site within the primary zone. We also have 8 air samplers, 4 in primary zone, 1 in Port Elgin, 1 in Kincardine, 1 in Walkerton, and 1 in Paisley. For increased redundancy, we have 10 additional deployable monitors available at an off-site location. These monitors have the exact same capability as the permanent monitors and are outfitted with solar panels and battery power for up to 5 days if required, as well as cellular and satellite transmitting capabilities to New PathNet, but with the added benefit of being portable. New PathNet is a web-based program accessed by Bruce Power, Health Canada, PEOC, and CNSC, which provides monitoring and reporting capabilities. The scenario included an atmospheric release on the evening of day 4. This critical action is coordinated between the Emergency Management Center and the Provincial Emergency Operations Center. Together, the ideal timing of the release is co-determined to minimize impact on the safety of the employees, the public, and the environment. On day 5, the Provincial Emergency Operations Center continued to implement their response activities, engaging ministries at the provincial and federal level and coordinating with off-site centers. The alternate Emergency Management Center remained at the alternate location and initiated the transition from a response focus to a recovery focus. At approximately 1200 hours, Huron Resolve was terminated. Additional significant events, such as the contaminated casualty response, provided additional stress factors to command and control, while providing valuable training opportunities to test new state-of-the-art facilities. Throughout the days, a steady stream of injects presented secondary issues to be prioritized and managed through the current operational planning and deliberate incident action planning processes, including structural issues with buildings, pipe leaks, and protesters. To successfully execute an exercise of this scale, a great deal of work goes on behind the scenes, involving a large support team. Exercise Control oversaw the execution of all scenarios and tracked the various activities. Daily briefings ensured that key timings and objectives were met.
Thank you. Before I move into the presentation, I'll just pause and see if there were any questions or comments about the exercise.
Any comments or questions? Anne?
I just found the exercise very valuable, and it was I hadn't been at one of these major ones, so all of a sudden the phone rings and you're talking to the province, or something else is happening, thrown in. And even the way you did the media part of the drill was very beneficial. Professional radio people coming and asking you questions. Mm-hmm. Radio and TV. Thanks, Stephanie. It was good.
Thank you.
Good. Anything else? Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Just another comment. I was involved in the one prior and this one also, and it's really amazing the amount of resources that can be brought to bear in an emergency in a fairly short period of time. It's kind of really reassuring. I think that when you go through one of these exercises, you go, wow, it can happen, and it can happen very fast. So just congratulations to the whole team that put those on.
So I just wanted to start off with, on behalf of Bruce Power, I'd like to recognize the County of Bruce for the significant contribution and leadership demonstrated during the planning and execution of Exercise Here and Resolve. Definitely an exercise at this scope. It's a huge amount of work, and it's not just Bruce Power. There are a number of stakeholders. There was a number of different planning sessions that were involved that had involvement from stakeholders, including Bruce County and a couple of the municipalities, as well as the province. So it's quite significant, and I think that's something to really honor and value, because it is often easy for other priorities that you deal with day to day to come a little bit higher up. So I really commend Bruce County for prioritizing this and their involvement and being able to get that benefit from it in terms of their readiness. So again, as caretakers of this special and unique nuclear technology, the CANDU technology, which is a great technology, it goes back to safety first, and we're never satisfied with our performance. So at the end of the video, we saw how we'll have an after-action review, and we'll drive to that continuous improvement and further enhancing our response capabilities, and 2019 will be the next large-scale exercise in this scope. But I'd just like to thank the County of Bruce and present this letter of recognition, as well as the plaque here.
Okay, are there any reports from staff this morning? Hearing none. Any inquiries or announcements this morning? Guess I just have to make a comment for the Tartan Day. It's been getting quite a bit of press all over the place, and just want to thank all those that participated, heard some really interesting stories this morning, and we have a doll looking over our shoulders this morning. I don't know if that's eerie or whether it's a good thing or not, but she's making sure we're doing our job. So I just want to commend the team for putting Tartan Day together, and again recognizing Bruce County's 150th birthday. All right, approval of committee minutes.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Jackson and seconded by Councillor Smith that the minutes of the following committees be approved. March 2nd, 2017, Executive Committee, Corporate Services Committee, Human Resources Committee, Homes Committee, Paramedic Services Committee, Museum Committee, Social Services and Housing Committee. March 16th, 2017, Planning and Development Committee, Highways Committee, and Human Resources Committee.
Are there any errors, omissions, or discussions from any of those minutes that have been circulated? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Any notice of motions this morning? Seeing none. Other business. Is there any other business this morning? Moving on to bylaws.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Ingalls, seconded by Councillor Buckle, that the following bylaws be adopted. Bylaw number 2017-023 is a bylaw to designate a head for the purposes of the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. Bylaw 2017-024 is a bylaw to govern the proceedings of the council and committees of the Corporation of the County of Bruce. Bylaw 2017-025 is a bylaw to regulate the lands known as the Bruce County Trail and County Forests. Bylaw number 2017-026 is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the County of Bruce at its meeting held the 6th day of April 2017.
Thank you, Donna. Are there any discussions on any of those bylaws? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Adjournment.
I have a motion moved by Councillor Buckle and seconded by Councillor Ingalls that we adjourn to meet again Thursday, May the 4th, 2017 at 9:30 a.m.
All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you.